Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Well, hello, lovelies. It's Tuesday. You know what that means. It's time for us to get together and have a live show. So welcome if you're here. You can comment and say hello if you'd like. I'd sure like to see you. And, it's just fun to be together, isn't it? Anyway, this whole week, we're celebrating Mother's Day. I know that there's a lot of, I don't even know how to explain, but there's a lot of sensitivity going on with people who are trying to be mothers and are not mothers and all the rest of this kind of stuff. And so my heart goes out to all of the women out there who's unfortunately haven't had the journey of becoming a mother. So my heart goes out to you, but I'm still going to offer sales and say a special something to women who are mothers. It doesn't mean I'm unsensitive. It just means that I'm inclusive. How's that? Is that fair? Jocelyn, Jackie, Catherine, hello. Good to have you here. Anyway, I wanted to say that because I've gotten a few emails of people who are saying blah, 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 and if you're a mother and this, that, and the other thing. And I appreciate that kind of sensitivity. However, I also appreciate an inclusivity of understanding that, aren't we all mothers really at the core, our cores? I think we are. So that's my thought on that. Did you know, because of this whole Mother's Day thing, we are having a massive monster sale, 20% off on the entire store. That includes the kits. And I'm pushing the kits because the kits are where it's at. I mean, we're already getting a good price break, and then to add it another 20%, come on. It's ridiculous. Y'all need to get on that. So 20% off is a big, big deal. Just go to savingdinner.com/supplements. You're going to see them. You're going to see all that stuff. It's all on sale. Alice, I'm glad to see you. Great quote of the week. Someday isn't a day of the week. You know what that means? That means that if we are going to be hearkening to this idea of someday I will fill in the blank, then I'm calling you out and saying that someday isn't a part of our calendars. It's not. And if you want the things that you say that you want in your life, well, guess what? You're going to have to get a little more granular than that. You have to walk into the fact that there's plans that need to be made. There's ideas that need to be bantered about, and that there's a pencil and a piece of paper in your future where goals need to be written out. This is how we get what it is that we want, and we don't default to whatever comes our way. We have to be living our lives intentionally. If you're here on purpose and for purpose, and yes, you are, then this is our calling. This is our mission. These are the things that we have to do. Just saying. What else? Oh, who is coming to our skin webinar tomorrow? I am really excited about this because I haven't shared about this in a long, long time. And I just had somebody recently tell me, oh, I love you have such pretty skin. How do you do this? And I'm like, oh, if only you knew all the things that we have to do at this age to be so proactive to get our skin looking half decent. I'm telling you. I am on the cusp of turning 66, y'all. So, I've had a full year of Medicare and, so, I am definitely now considered geriatric. When you hit after 65, you're considered geriatric. Who knew? I think it's hilarious. Why not? But if you want to register for this webinar, and I don't care what age you are, Don't you want pretty skin? Don't you want better skin than you have right now? Right? No, what, Christina? Chris says, no, I'm turning 66. Yes, turning 66 next Monday. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Savingdinner.com/skin. She said no to geriatric. But that's the definition. I came across that and I burst out laughing. Mark said, what's that? And I said, well, you and I are geriatrics, honey. We're considered geriatrics. I just think that's garbage. I say no to that. Hey, Doris. I say no to that. In order, I don't want to deny my age. I want to defy my age. That's a big differentiator, right? Defying it means that I'm not going to go the normal route. I mean, if I just let things go and wasn't proactive, maybe my DEXA, I told you about my DEXA scan, right? I have the bones of a 30-year-old. I owe that to Perfect Paleo Protein and beauty support. I promise you. And also the exercise that I'm doing and weightlifting and pickleball and all of that, of course. But 30-year-old bones, I'm very happy about that. Excited about that even. That's an accomplishment. But it was on purpose. I did it on purpose. And that's my call to you is let's do things on purpose. We don't have to just fall down and let things go. Yeah, who's sprinting, by the way, this week? I just want to know. I'm always sprinting, and then I cheat a little bit. But I mean, I keep sprinting always in my book of do's. Look what Catherine said. That's good. No to geriatrics. We're strong, wise women, and we don't have to follow their rules. Yes. Don't you wish we had a nanny icon like that, one of those? I don't think we do. I don't think we have one of those emojis. Chris said a whole new meaning to the word good bones. That's really good. Yeah, it is. I mean, I'm pleased with that. I'm proud of that. I worked for that. And, when we do these kind of things, when we are doing things that are proactive for us, there it is, then, guess what? We get to reap the benefits. We get to talk about it a little bit. We have to, we get to put that feather in our caps. That reminds me, I need to make hot milk spit. Okay, yeah, go make that soup. Get your soup made. Soup's so good. I got to go get some bone broth made. We just went through the last of ours. So this week, I want to talk a little bit to this live show. I want to talk about something that I just experienced, and I want to share it with you and how I handled it because I have not handled disappointment well in the past. I'm one of these people who ruminates on things and kind of I get myself all upset and I beat myself up. It wakes me up at night. And as much as I try to move past it, I don't, I just get kind of intensely into that thing. I am my mother's daughter, by the way. She was a hand wringer. And as much as I try not to be a hand wringer as far as worrying, I do ruminate. And so as I think of my personal quest to break that habit, I, went and did a little deep dive into disappointment. What is the research that shows us how we can flip disappointment and how we can get beyond it and get better even because of it? And, of course, research is done on a constant level. Research is always being done on our behalf so that we can learn better and more. And so I did this with a particular, and I'm not going to get into all the stuff about it. It's not over till it's over. Okay. Emily, gosh, she nailed it. She said disappointment is a major distraction. It is a distraction. And it also, it upsets our equilibrium and our balance. It makes us feel a certain way. Well, whatever we assign the feeling to it. And, it goes deep. It goes deep and it rattles us a little bit and it pushes our psyche. I've had this happen before at pickleball tournaments. I get so wrapped up into the competition and everything. I enjoy that part of it. And I don't apologize for being competitive. I think it's fun. I'm not overly competitive. I get into it. It's great. It's fun. I played on Saturday. We played all day. It's an MLP event that goes from like noon till 6. It was a very long day and exhausting, but just so rewarding. And we did well. And we weren't the best, but it was okay. That's not the disappointment that I'm talking about. But I've had to really work on a mindset piece that goes with this disappointment. But this particular thing was something that I felt qualified for. I felt like it was all going to work out, and it did not. And so my thought to myself was like, oh man, you really thought more about yourself than you should have. And boy, who do you think you are? I mean, you know how it all goes. So I want to share this with you because when I started digging into the science, it really helped me to stop beating myself up and start instead on working on myself for what I can do next, because there's always a next, right? There's always a next. And it doesn't mean I need to pull back. It means I need to reassess. And that's what this is all about. Imposter syndrome really comes creeping in, like, who do you think you are? You're not good enough, all of that. And, you're not cut out for this. You've had, look at all of this other stuff. And I say no to that. So let's get into it. And let's take a look at how we can overcome or even triumph over disappointment and rise up so that the next time something comes up or whatever, we're ready for it and we're not jaded by this other disappointment. Well, the first thing is obviously acknowledge those feelings. I have a tendency to be Pollyanna, Miss Sunshine optimism, ridiculous at times to my own hurt, because you cannot process the emotion of disappointment and sadness and hurt feelings and all the rest of it that goes with it. When you suppress those emotions, say, oh, well, next time or whatever. There's still processing that needs to be done with those emotions. And those emotions aren't all sunshine and roses. Those emotions are fraught with all kinds of stuff. Like I said, imposter syndrome, or who do you think you are? And this is just not for you. You're not cut out for this, that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of negative self-talk. But when we oppress them and we oppress those feelings and we're ready and anxious even to leapfrog into, that sunny optimism, when we have never taken the time to process the negative disappointment stuff, then what the science is telling us is that it puts us in prolonged distress, because those emotions will still creep back up and we're basically swatting them down and it doesn't go away the way it needs to. So have a good cry over it, spill your guts or whatever it is that you need to do, because the science says that emotional acceptance is a component to physiological and physical, psychological flexibility. And that shows us that we're going to have a better mental outcome. We're going to feel clean at the end of it. We're going to feel like, okay, I processed this, right? I processed this. It just makes all the difference in the world. And this study suggests that accepting emotions as they are rather than denying them leads to less and lower emotional distress. And that's true. But it's the processing that gets you there. It's the processing. And we all do it a little bit differently. I think it's just really massively important that we take a look at that. Autumn and Mary, good afternoon to you. I'm so glad you're here. Number 2 is to reframe the situation. So if we shift our perspective on the event that caused the disappointment, we can look for a positive outcome on the other side, the lessons learned. We can learn how to shift it. Yes, we can. Okay, so what did I learn from this? I could tell you, like, there's like 5 big things that I learned from it. Big things that I learned from it. But the science behind all of this that is telling us to do all of this, it says this is called cognitive reframing, and it's from cognition behavioral therapy. We've talked about that a lot when we've done, some of our coursework and everything together. But it helps us to change the emotional response by changing the attached meaning that we have to this event. And the research shows us that when we shift that reframe it, our emotional and psychological responses lessen. In other words, looking at it and saying, okay, so that was something that I want, but I also know that this is something that I can handle in the future. This is something that I could shift ever so slightly and change it so that maybe this next time this opportunity comes my way, it will be mine. Do you hear what I'm saying with this? In other words, it's never over if we have the capability to be a little bit flexible and to shift our thinking on it and say, you know what? There is a next time. There is a next idea. There is a next opportunity. We have to look at it this way because that flexibility gives us it gives us that much more of a feel for ourselves and an ability to just move forward. Okay. And number 3 is to set realistic expectations. This is important. And that's not to say that, you have to review your expectations and say, well, I should have never tried for that in the first place. What we need to do is we need to look at our expectations. Are they realistic? Was this a realistic thing? Okay, if it wasn't realistic, what needed to shift from that? And then the next component, which I think is really massively important, is look at the evidence that you have in your life that yes, you are equipped for this opportunity, or yes, you are capable of doing this one thing. Do you see what I'm saying with all of this? Because the science tells us that we can oftentimes have really unrealistic expectations. I mean, I remember seeing, and you've probably watched American Idol, right? Back in the day, I used to watch it all the time. I was just hooked on that show. It was so much fun. But I remember this poor woman who, and I think it's so mean what they do on that show, but they'll bring them on almost as a joke. And this woman just clearly did not have talent. And she was not willing to take the no answer. And she said, just auto-tune me in the studio. I can do this. I have all of this. And I'm trying to do, she had like this whole, idea of what it should be. And she said, this is what you do for Britney Spears. This is what you do for so-and-so. Why can't you do that for me? This should be mine. I am meant to be in this. She was just a little bit unrealistic. However, what the science tells us is that if we have evidence to support the fact that we can do this, this missed opportunity just means another one is on the way. You hear me? Another one is on the way. So we don't want to be out in left field. But on the other hand, if there's evidence to support the fact that this is something that we can do, the next opportunity is coming. That is something that really, really helps. And number 4 is to develop a plan. So you can create a plan to address the source of your disappointment. Did you know that? That's something that I have done. And I'm going to be able to meet my goals, but in a different way. It's not going to be this venue. It's going to be something else. I don't know exactly what that looks like. I don't know the fine points of the hows, by the way. I just know what it is that I want to do, how I want to accomplish it, and then I'm going to move forward with or without this opportunity. So what can I do? What can I do? I'm going to look for those opportunities. I'm going to put myself out there. And the science behind it, it's called proactive coping. I love that. Proactive coping. It means that you've gone through and you've made a plan of what you can do next. It means that you've adjusted your goals ever so slightly, and that what you're doing now is you're mitigating a lot of the psychological distress that came from this disappointment in the first place. Isn't that so cool? It's doing what it is that you can do, letting go of the stuff that you can't, obviously, but this will also help you to improve your problem solving. This is how we creep in and say, wait a second here. It's not over till it's over. And it's not. Because this one thing didn't work out doesn't mean the next thing won't. And that's what this tells us that we can do when we do all of these things. And number 5 is called engaging in problem solving. It's a little bit different than developing a plan, but it's the same idea. We have to identify the steps you can take to overcome the disappointment. Yeah, step 1, feel it, cry it out, wail on it a little bit. This means that you have to do some things, not just sit with it, not just marinate it, not just ruminate with it, but do some things out, right? Let it out. It's in there. Let it out. But you also, again, proactive stuff, new skills, seek some advice, adjust your approach, see what it is that you can do next time, look for the next opportunity. You feel me on this? This is important because active problem solving helps to reduce the impact of stress on your emotional well-being and keeps you in this place of developing more effective coping strategies. Because you know what? I have one big fat juicy secret for you. This isn't the last disappointment in your life. Not for me and not for you. And that if we are willing to make risks to quantum leap forward in our lives, some things will work, some things won't. We're not going to bat 100. Not a single soul on this planet will. And I just want to say that as, whoever needs to hear this, okay? This is just how it is in this world, unfortunately. Number 6 is to seek support. Talk to your friends, talk to your audience, talk to professionals, talk to people who want to hear from you, because they can offer you some support, some advice. They might see something and say, well, have you ever considered this? Well, I have somebody I'd like to introduce you to. Well, you would be perfect for this. Have you ever considered blah, blah, blah? Think about it. This is how connections are made. This is how your reticular activating system gets going. And this is how you mitigate your amygdala, who's saying, take a seat, don't do anything else. This is too risky. See what happens when you do all these things? I say no to that. And the science is right there for us. The science tells us social support is crucial for psychological resilience. Psychological resilience. Psychological resilience is the thing that keeps propelling us forward. Psychological resilience is the thing that impacts us in our psyches. It gives us that gumption to keep going. So, and don't you love that the science is behind all of this? I think that's so amazing. Number 7 is to practice self-compassion. Yeah, I had to do that. I went through the whole thing and just said, did I do it wrong? Was it terrible? Was there something else that I needed to do? Why not me? Why didn't I get this? How come this passed me by? And what I saw when I dared to ask myself all of these things? I saw that this is just a part of life, that this one was not meant for me, and that what is meant for me will find me. And what I'm meant for, I will find as well. And if I keep my eyes on that prize, guess what? That's the thing that will develop and come into my life, because my reticular activating system is up and moving on my behalf. The science tells me a future-oriented mindset can enhance motivation and confidence, contribute to better mental health, and achievement outcomes. Duh. Of course it will. Of course it will. We all suffer from disappointment, sometimes small ones, sometimes massive ones, sometimes career-crushing ones, sometimes things that just make you think, oh my gosh, I'm a complete failure as a whatever. But it's just not true, because disappointment is part of the human equation. It's what makes us real, to quote the Velveteen Rabbit. It really is and truly is what makes us real. And it's also an opportunity for growth, for a new mindset, and for looking for new opportunities. We simply need to process this disappointment and not allow it to define us. And that's the fine point. That's the fine point. So anyway, I hope that was helpful for you as I went through all the stuff that I went through this week with a very profound disappointment that I had just recently gone through. But I will tell you right now that I am so much happier that I get to come back to you and talk to you about all of this as someone who's processed all of this. And it's not going to keep me up at night. I will promise you that. So I hope you found it helpful. And if so, you can share these videos. We have the share button here. And if there's anything else ever that I can do for you, you can always count on me to answer your email. Send it in to support@savingdinner.com, and I will answer it with all of my heart. You know that. Diane, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you so much for all of that. And I'll tell you, each one of you has made a profound impression on my life, especially those of you who have taken my courses, sat in my hot seats, and been a part of my life. I always walk away with just a little bit more because of you. And that's the truth. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate you. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.